to the finals of the June 2018 Ladder Wars tournament. On the bottom left of Battlebase Beta here today, we have the Yellow Empire, it is Dimon, versus his purple Soviet opponent on the top right of the map, Deep D Fantasy. So a good game for us today. Both players who we were essentially expecting to get through to the finals today have indeed made their way here. So it should be indeed a good game. 2-back start from the Soviets this time around. So essentially just means that he's going to try and take the center and maybe just move on down here and try and destroy this oil derrick if he can. I don't think he's going to be able to get a capture. It's probably just going to be simply for getting the center of the map, getting some conscripts into these important garrisons, and going from there. But interestingly, no wall up of this refinery. So could we be seeing some sort of push? Could we be seeing some sort of war factory behind this into an MCV push? I mean, it is 3 refinery start from his opponent. This is looking like it very well could oh, no. Maybe not. I'll get in very excited there for something that wasn't quite going to be happening quite yet, but nevertheless. 3 refinery start from the Empire, so very greedy. And a little bit of a delayed one as well, so we didn't want to go for it right away. Only when he knew he was relatively safe, but unbeknownst to him, a relatively hefty swarm of infantry is coming across the map here now. Just gets into this oil derrick safely enough. But the conscript swarm is coming across the map, and there isn't anything to really deal with this quite yet. I mean, he's going for this mecha bay, but there's no dojo. Might simply need to build a couple, one for crushing and one for maybe some Imperial Warriors, if he needs to, but for the time being, maybe looking to simply hold off with the collectors, because of course, Empire collectors do have this gun, which is very powerful, and especially being able to crush as well. Might be enough to hold off, but of course walls for the time being are doing a good enough job at holding the line. Terror drone coming across the map first as he knows what's going on. He sees a delayed mecha bay, knows it is indeed a 3rd refinery opener. And the terror drone goes right on towards the water. Naval yard looking to maybe get deployed fast enough. I think he just about will make it. But it might be quite close. Just about in time there. Very close, of course. If that did get infected, if that did get stunned down, and the naval yard got infected, collector would be vulnerable to maybe an infection of itself. But Tengu harassment now coming on out. Of course, this time around, generally on a map like this, you do see a turret in between these refineries to defend from Tengus, but playing riskily this time around didn't work out for DD Fantasy as the Tengu does come on in. And another one also follows behind it as well. So Tengu and a couple of terror drones looking to deal with this. I mean, looking, Sickle and a couple of Sickles and terror drones are going to deal with this. And for the time being will do a good enough job. But not overcommitting with the Tengus for the time being. Although, to be honest, there's not really that much to stop him. Generally, the perfect defense early on in the game would be a turret in between here, and a couple of flak troopers, maybe just simply one, in this garrison with a half wall. And he'd be perfectly safe, but he doesn't have either of them at this stage. Finally now going for the turret. But lost a little bit of mining time and might lose a collector in the process. Does come back now with this turret drone. Should be able to clean this up. So not the end of the world, but this simply has a collector not mining very quickly for quite a long time in this game. Trying to go for the honorable discharge kill there, but not quite getting it. At the same time, harassing this 3rd refinery location. And the MCV goes for that sneaky little crush to clean that up. Finally there goes the collector, but there's a lot of Tengus in the process of actually doing so. And was it worth it? I mean, debatable. 4th refinery now coming on out for the Empire player, as he knows there's not really too much to really threaten him at this stage. Yes, there are a couple of Sickles, but he doesn't know there's nothing at home. Defensive turret coming on out now as well. to stop anything from potentially coming through this choke point. Tickling away at the power plant, but that should be cleaned up relatively swiftly by an Imperial Warrior. So Tengi is just keeping tabs of what's going on around the map. Sees what he's up against. Sees this further refinery. He's only really defended by this tank, so he's bringing over this VX to hopefully deal with it. But now the Bullfrog is out in the field. Might be able to save the day, but the tank is in a pretty dangerous position. Might indeed go down. Good use of this MCV here. He is using it to hopefully go for the crush. Just waiting for the right position for the drop. But good micro on the VX head. Does just about manage to get out of the harm's way in time. Tengu Rasmus keeping up the pressure here. Not the end of the world losing at Tengu, because of course it does force the collector into lower health, which stops it mining very quickly. Which might not seem like a huge deal, but in the long run, if it's mining this much slower, I think it's about half the pace, it does severely hurt your economy. Even if it is just a 50%, I mean, that's a huge deficit. MCV moving on forward, looking to maybe try and do some sort of push to break the fourth refinery, upground refinery location of his opponent. Hesitant on actually doing so. Turret indeed coming on out. Tesla call on the front line with his crane as he pushes on forward. More Tengus coming on for harassment. Collector's still alive, but the VXs hasn't noticed this turret yet, it seems. Could have potentially brought over some of these tank busters to deal with this. But the MCV simply going back, simply expanding, not committing to the pressure. And his Tesla call didn't really achieve very much. Just simply pressuring his opponent and threatening him, saying, "You shall not pass." The MCV does get caught off guard by a couple of these VXs. Bullfrog gets forced back, and now there isn't really any anti-air to deal with this. Tanks coming out to save the day at the last moment. But the Bullfrog is vulnerable, does get picked off. Second one comes in to try and save the day, but moves a little bit closer, does just about keep its max distance. But nice micro from the VX set, keeps it alive. And the tanks are now essentially forfeit. Good micro and good timing on the attacks from the Empire player there. And all of a sudden, Deeply Fantasy in a little bit of trouble. That shows just how quickly this game can turn around. And there we have it. Simply one bad move, and Deeply Fantasy has to forfeit. Game 1 goes to Dimon. Hello and welcome to game number 2 here of the finals of the June 2018 Ladder Wars. On the left of the map this time around we have the purple Soviets player, it is Deeply Fantasy, versus yellow Empire at the right. It's Dimon, currently up 1-0 in the series after winning on battle-based beta. This is going to be Deeply Fantasy's map of choice. Let's see how this one turns out. So 3 dojos start from the Empire, which is probably the most standard opening for Empire versus Soviets on a map, on this map. Just a very safe way to get both of these to get the oil direct, and also potentially just pressure the opponent's refinery, oil direct, I should say. You don't need to, but it's also just it's just there if you need to. If you really want to, potentially you can move on forward and even get the capture, or just block off this refinery. It's quite a versatile opener for the Empire. But early War Factory coming on out. This is something that DB Fancy does seem to favour quite a bit as of late. But generally, the benefit from this is really coming from the fact that if your opponent decides to go for both these Alderics, you can just simply take off the Engineer. But it doesn't seem like Dimon's actually going to be going for it this time around. Going to be probably falling on back with his... well, not falling on back, just deploying and trying to get the most of it. But I don't really think there's going to be any danger of that actually going to be captured. Burst on Scout getting picked off there, just blinding the eyes of the Empire player for the time being. As the first Tengu makes its way across the map. Just scouting on around for the time being, not deciding to commit, seeing what he sees. I wouldn't be surprised if he just simply maybe goes for one defensive Tengu, or just simply brings this one back and goes for a refinery pretty quickly behind this. Trying to be greedy, it seems. Really doesn't want to make sure that he doesn't lose a refinery if he just bring one out. So DB Fancy moving to the high ground as well, looking poised to take his third refinery. But the Empire player is walling in at the front, making sure that no more units can come past here and be pesky. Anything that comes past is pretty much forfeit, like these sickles. No more pressure coming out from his side anymore as he goes for his third. Really, the ideal scenario in this matchup is to really either go for one of two things. Either go for a whole bunch of Tengus, keep up the pressure, and try and just wear down your Soviet opponent as quick as you can. Or simply go for as few as possible as you can, and try and go for your expansion. Opted for the latter, and probably the better choice this time around. But tank moves on forward. If nothing more, it simply is force to wall spam, force something to actually come on out, because for the time being, the tank can't do anything. Single tank on its own versus this isn't going to get any sort of damage, and it's just simply just hoping to pressure your opponent and force him to just get scared. Maybe overcommit. But here come Tengus once again, flying on out, probably this time going to be dropping, but not dropping very well. Yeah, that was a bit of a mistake. Should have really been dropping inside the wall with the second one, so losing a little bit of potential harassment potential there. But drops on the one on the high ground and does get picked off after not doing a little bit of damage first. Fourth refinery now coming on out from the Empire player, Naval Yard to back it up against any turret drones. As of course, DB Fancy doing the exact same thing. Very economic play from both sides. Neither player looking to end the game quickly, looking for the drawn out match, looking for the big armies, looking for where they potentially shine the most. The tank's just pushing forward once again, just trying to pressure your opponent, if nothing else, waste these precious credits on the walls. So it's going to be the airfield, as he knows this frontal push is going to be quite difficult. He's really going to have to rely on the skies for the time being. And it's going to indeed be that Twin Frog. Tengus again coming on forward, looking for an opening to potentially go into this refinery, but now this Twin Frog is out, this becomes a little bit less threatening. Because Twin Frog can of course very quickly just turn around and deal with any of the Tengus which have dropped. We'll be going forward once again. Probably going to be going for this refinery on the Logan Water, but already anticipating this. Has this Yari mini sub potentially a little bit badly placed? Because I mean, to be honest, in a situation like this, you want the naval yard to be built. But I would be surprised if he actually did it do with seeing this Yari mini sub. But he's doing it anyway. Thinking the twin blade can clean this up. And behind this, interestingly enough, going for the tier 2 naval yard, so it's actually going to be going for these Yari, not just simply the Yari mini subs, but you're going to have the Naganatas, because of course, they're just straight up counter Akula subs. And if you can control the skies with these Tengus, he's going to be in great shape. Tesla coil coming on out to try and maybe get some sort of foothold in the water. But it looks like maybe a little bit too much here for the Soviets. For the time being at least, this seems to have been held, but the Naganatas are coming. And once these come out, I mean, it's going to be difficult to really hold this location for the Soviets. Good infection though. I'm not quite sure how that got in, if he maybe killed the walls off with the twin blades or what, but nevertheless managed to break on forward and kill a collector. Good move. Tries to move on forward with the Akula, but instantly spots that Naganata, realizing that's not a good position to be in. Fires a torpedo type S. It's not really a support power name that you ever see. Because I mean, you see Naganatas rarely enough as it is. For the time being, continuously just building a few more of these tanks, a few more bears as well. Potentially break the front, because I mean, there isn't that much here. There's only this turret, the wall spam, and these tank busters. Not much of a huge commitment to that side of the map. So during all of this, trying to take up to tier 3, trying to get up to these higher tier units. But it doesn't look like Dimon really, or neither player really wants to commit to anything at this stage. Naganata is simply just used for defense at this time. Doesn't want to overcommit to the water because of course it is expensive to go for something like that. Naganatas and Akula subs are very expensive units. It's continuously building more and more of these tanks and the twin blades. But the Tengu's coming forward, and this time they're going to get some harassment of his own. Twin blades and MiGs come across at the same time on the map, trying to deal some counter aggression. But then VX meets him in his base. Probably won't survive for very long though. As one of these Tengus, one of these collectors does fall. Only drops on the one though. He's just trying to hold off for long enough to actually kill this airfield. Should be able to get it with the drop damage if he needs it. But if he can, of course, he'll be very happy if he can escape. Maybe a mistake dropping there, didn't mean to do that. But good counter from the Soviets there, picks up 2 collectors. But that little blunder in the Soviet base does mean that 2 of those VXs are indeed going to die. And the tank count is now pretty scary with the twin blades as well. Second airfield come. Oh no, he's just simply rebuilding it. He is aware of this tier 3. At least I think he is. Yes, he is. So he knows what's coming on. Might be looking to transition into 2 airfields, but seeing as he sees there's already a huge Tengu swarm in the skies, might not be the best call. Probably just going to try and break the front with what he has. And that might not be a bad idea. the issue is simply there's too many walls. And if he can manage to actually break one of these walls down and come through, he's going to be thrown with a choke, and the tank buses will have an easy time picking those off. Three coolers. It looks like he's going to try and break the water, but Shogun battleships are indeed on the way. Question is, what's going to be faster? And who's going to have the better micro? Ramming speed will be able to pick these off if he gets good shots off. One of them indeed goes down. Two fall, but doesn't quite get the third there. But instantly could simply build another one. I mean, two Shoguns. I mean, a single Shogun. It's cheaper. But let's see actually how much cheaper that is. Single Shogun, 2,200. Kilo sub 1,800. Definitely a good trade for Dimon there. Shogun battleships, probably the most scary thing that Empire actually have in their arsenal, especially when backed up by Naganatas and a swarm of Tengus. But it is indeed going to be this double airfield, simply just looking to try and control the skies, even though there is already this massive swell of Tengus controlling what they hope to actually get to. Couple of bear scouts coming on forward. We'll see what they need to see. I think they might just be in range to see those Wave Force artilleries. Yes, they were. But here comes the Shogun. And the second Shogun to back it up as well. I mean, crushing all of his tanks. Really looking for another transition as well. He did a very similar thing in a recent game as well. Essentially, as soon as he sees T3, as soon as he sees these Shoguns, looking to just go full-on aircraft. Triple airfield. I mean, he does have 5 refineries. And probably a lot of credits from crushing all of those tanks as well. Might just simply be going for 12 MiGs, but nevertheless he's going to have a lot of air in the skies very shortly. And for the time being, there's nothing that he has that can really contest this naval army from the Empire. Good shot from afar there, does pick off one of the Naganatas. But there's plenty to back this up. If the VXs really want to say they could. Loads of MiGs in the skies, definitely just making sure that these Tengus will not be able to deal with what he has coming for him. And during all of this, just trying to build up some powerful army to try and break on forward should these twin blades actually come across the map. But it really comes down to where this engagement happens. If it happens over the water, then of course the VXs can't come in and join in with the fight. If it happens without point defense drones, Tengus are going to get annihilated. Both players are going to have to be carefully picking their fights. Comes in very quickly with these twin blades, picks off quite a few of those VXs with the MiGs. This in such high numbers. These Tengus are getting demolished. Now with all of those gone, that's pretty much the entire army of the Empire out of the picture. Simply not enough anti-air. Another twin blades, that's going to clean up shop. Good transition from the Soviets there. Maybe not the best idea to go up for these high tier units because of course, I mean, they can't shoot the skies. A couple of these Shoguns will have probably been enough, but I mean, he has killed the refinery. Hoping for a fight in the water with these sea wings. Didn't quite get lucky in that regard. As everything that the Empire had, one side is now being completely obliterated. King Oni's come on forward because they realise, well, they're not doing anything at home. Do manage to break down a crane. But I mean, once the twin blades come on home, they are not going to be able to get any damage done. Infection in one of these Shoguns there. But that's not going to be enough. A couple of the airfields do indeed die. I mean, once the Twin Blades, once the Shoguns are out of the picture as well, I mean, there's literally nothing left for the Empire player. MCV was it sold off? Might have been sold off to simply get the credits to rebuild collectors. I mean, this late in the game, when you got tier 3, you do not want to be doing that, especially when you lose the possibility to use point defense drones. Twin Blades come in once again. It should be the final blow. As DD Fantasy is looking poised to tie up the series. Simply one bad move out of the Empire player there. It's not appropriately dealing or building the appropriate response to this swarm of Twin Blades and MiGs. That third airfield with that third bunch of MiGs definitely did help out a lot in this engagement. It might have just been enough. It might have just been what he needed to secure the victory. Because I mean, at this stage, the game's it's over. I'm very surprised that Dimon hasn't quit yet, to be honest. Again, just moving on forward with these Twin Blades. VX is trying to get in high enough numbers, but I mean, even at this number, you can do hit and runs with the Twin Blades, and the VXs are going to have no chance. And that's exactly what he's going for. He's waiting for the Twin Blade, waiting for the missiles to replenish, and he's probably just going to run right on through. He was at least thinking about it. Just playing safe, going for the tier 3. And probably just going for the Shoguns. I mean, for the Dreadnoughts. But I mean, it probably won't last that long. MiGs and Twin Blades is running circles around the opponent. Is now looking to finish off all of these VXs, and there indeed they go. Dimon has been defeated, and DD Fantasy ties up the series 1-1. Hello and welcome to game number 3 here of the June 2018 Ladder Wars Finals. On the left of Cabana Republic here today we have the yellow Empire player, it is Dimon, versus the purple Soviets on the right, DD Fantasy. After tying up the series with the second game, victory on Infinity Isle, this is going to be the Empire map of choice, and it's Cabana Republic. So a very big map, favours mobile armies. Essentially favours Tengus. So we're going to be seeing a huge swarm of those this game. I would not be surprised at all to see those from him today. Starting off 3 Dojo once again. Allows him to get this early scout off with the burst drone and also just go for this single oil direct. Maybe go for the second, but looking unlikely. It's a possibility, but I don't know if he's going to actually commit to it. So this time around, going for both of the refineries before anything else. Could be a naval yard, could be a super reactor, could be a war factory. Still open up, still an open game. Doesn't really want to show his hand quite yet, but it is indeed simply going to be for the super reactor, probably the most standard of the 3. Especially after going for both the refineries first. But both players just capturing their respective oil derricks. And going on from there. So Mega Bay is now out. And the Tengu production will start. There's a war factory behind this. Should be able to at least secure an expansion to the high ground. The dojo is actually coming around though. Something that he would have been able to stop if there was an earlier war factory, but with a delayed one like this, can't really come over and stop the capture of this oil derrick. One of the Tengu's getting stunned down in place. Tank potentially clean this up, but probably going to be a leech with the MCV getting crushed there. Of course, Empire player also moving up for the third refinery. So again, another macro game it seems today. Which is what we want to see. Again, it is nice to see some cheese strategies. It's nice to see some all-out aggression at the start, but also it's nice to see some drawn-out, well-thought-out games from both sides. And this looks like it's probably going to be one of those today. It could just simply be some sort of delay, like semi-all-in of 3 refineries or something like that. But I think it's unlikely at this stage. I think it's most likely going to be drawn-out, long-term game that we're going to be seeing today. A few tank forces make their way forward with some Imperial warriors as well, and do seem to potentially put on a little bit of pressure against this high ground expansion. Barracks coming out below. Now the MCV will be able to retreat if he wants to. So there's a little bit of pressure to the tank. On its own, not going to be able to do the job. He needs his conscripts, and now they are finally coming on in. Tengu also joining in, taking a collector off the line for the time being. This has actually been pretty powerful. Of course, behind this, Dimon has expanded himself and is in decent shape with both these Aldrigs as well. Conscripts finally cleaning up shop in this garrison. At least attempting to. It has been so pesky inside there. A couple of those Tengus did indeed get picked off. But the collector is still alive, so overall, probably not too bad of a defense from the Soviet player. But the Tengu is continuously coming on out, and there's nothing at home to really deal with these. Fourth refinery coming on out as well with the Tesla coil to stop these Tengus from being irritating in the water. But that wasn't overly great. The mine actually did get some splash damage and hit both of those Tengus there. Not ideal for the Empire player. Which is why you generally only see one Tengu drop at a time, just in case something like this happens. I think he was just simply hoping that the splash damage from one would kill the flagship, and the other one would just continuously keep on attacking, but it didn't quite work out that way for him. Turret now coming out from the high ground as well. There's more and more Tengus that make their way across the map, looking to just keep up the aggression and keep up the harassment. But during all of this, the Soviet player hasn't really been able to get across the map and scout what he needs to, so it means he doesn't know that the Empire is in the water and looking to potentially take this for his 4th and 5th. I think he's just keeping tabs on exactly what his opponent doing and finding these weak spots. Again, finds a collector, does a little bit of damage and might be able to escape if he wants to. Just gets caught out before the cooldown and will die. I think there might be a sweet spot here, but it might be, maybe not, against the turret. So 4th refinery and this naval yard now up, but of course, DD Fantasy has been 4 refineries for a little while now, so his economy has been thriving. Nevertheless, 2-all, it still kind of out even the score, considering all the lost mining time that the Soviets had for all this. Fifth refinery now out. And it's looking like some real pressure has to happen from the Soviets on land now before this gets out of hand, because you can't really pressure the water as of yet. Drops down, picks up a couple of these reinforcements. Very nice move from these Tengus here. Of course, doesn't simply want to doesn't simply want to run right in to these units, because you can see how quickly those bullfrogs get ripped to shreds by the tank busters. So moving on forward once again, probably going to the high ground this time. But the engineer simply going for the oil rig, still unaware of this fourth and fifth refinery in the water. Well, they'll probably think something is up at this stage, because he doesn't see an MCV at either expansion. Very risky place to be in the water over here. There isn't really that much in position to guard this MCV. It might actually go down. I mean, if he gets the Tesla call up, he might have some sort of buffer. Oh, but this is going to be huge. Just moves away in time, but only loses a few units. Somehow there was an infantry unit in the water. I don't know how that happened. But somehow actually managed to get this up. I was very surprised. The tanks could have probably picked up the MCV if they really wanted to there. There's nothing to prevent it. But nevertheless, refinery gets probably sold off there, as there's nothing to deal with those tanks. Tank plus and garrisons. Tsunami tanks is rolling on forward as well. Again, these tanks get caught off guard, and there's not much anti-air, similar to what happened in one of the previous games as well. Tanks get caught off guard with too little anti-air, and the VXs just rip them to shreds. So far, things aren't seemingly going so well for the Soviet player. Everything going the way for the Empire. Going back up to 5 refineries once again. Has a tier 3 coming on out. Probably going to be going for shoguns again. I mean, he's even winning the land fight. As all of those tanks fell, really achieving nothing, apart from a single killed refinery, from which they could have backed off. Now, rolling on forward with all these tank busters and the Imperial Warriors and Tsunami tanks, trying to break the front line. Put defense zones comes on in, and he's going to roll on forward. Bears and Tesla Troopers looking to save the day here, but maybe there's too few units. Tank busters are a force to be reckoned with. The Bears get fired from the skies. Maybe it won't be enough. Of course, they do use his spider barrel. And if they simply lift off once again, these tanks are going to be in a little bit of trouble. Nice roll there, good timing on that one. But mixing up the pattern of those dropping and coming and falling there keeps some of them alive at least. Tier 3 naval yard now out. The Exorcists come up to clean up shop once again. No anti-air, no more units. Is that a simple game? I mean, if it's not game over yet, he sold his MCV, he's going to be seeing shoguns very shortly. I can't see him staying in this game for too much longer. Good play from Dimon here. And some risky moves, risky plays from the Soviets, which didn't really pay off. Wave Force Artillery now out in the field. But I mean, at this stage, it doesn't really matter what Dimon does. He's got everything. He's got the map. He's even... Oh, that's just adding insult. He's going for a Psionic Decimator. Outside of where he's the most powerful. If he wanted to, he could just build it in the water. I don't know if this is a mistake. That's got to be a mistake. I must be using the Dojo Rally from before. Yeah, that was a mistake. maybe just decides to leave this VX alone. And we'll see how dangerous they can be. Finally, a Shogun battleship starts. And finally, that VX goes down. But the longer this game goes on, I mean, there is a Decimator core now. Dimon knows he's won. DD Fancy might think that there's a chance for one last-ditch attempt at redemption. But, I mean, he's going to need a miracle to potentially come back into this game. I just don't think it's possible. But not quitting yet. More and more tank buses coming on out. I mean, the tank buses alone would be too much to deal with his army, but and the tank is close. But Wave Force artilleries, I mean, that's just making it impossible. Saying this, it is still 4 refineries versus 5, and 2 Alderics, of course. So it isn't impossible, just incredibly unlikely that things are actually going to go his way. Especially considering he doesn't have anything in the skies. And this exists. Going for the Cyanic Decimator essentially just loses his position here. His tank plus is rolling forwards. And he's going to lose a refinery, if not more, in his main base. But yes, the Cyanic Decimator does go down, and that is 2,500 credits down the drain. VX's Tengus do find an opening around the back once again, as one of the extra refineries has indeed fallen. One last ditch attempt at aggression here. But good use of this Imperial Warrior there. Gets 4 of those tsunami Tesla troopers. But this was an uphill battle as soon as it's really from the very early stages. Dimon is victorious and DD Fancy has been defeated. Hello and welcome to game number 4 here of the for the win. There, it's not the for the win. It is June Ladder Wars 2018 finals, and it is indeed between the Yellow Empire at the bottom left of Fire Island. It is Dimon, starting off with 4 dojos. Well, on top right, it's going to be the Purple Soviets. It's DD Fantasy. But of course, 4 dojos just essentially means it's essentially impossible to not get both of the oil derricks. If you don't get both of the oil derricks when you got 4 dojos, you're doing something wrong. But because of this, generally the way that DD Fantasy tends to approach this matchup on this map, he doesn't even attempt to go for the oil derrick. He simply just tries to destroy it with these flak troopers. But this time around, going for the other one. I mean, that's essentially guaranteed as well, because there isn't really that much commitment. There's 2 more dojos, 3 dojos committing to the left and nothing on the right. So that's pretty much dead. Although he might get a capture unless his rolls are on point, sending the engineer in place. But probably a good decision to come over here instead, because, I mean, yes, there are extra dojos, but it's just a little bit of a guaranteed kill for the time being, while waiting for this sickle to come on out. Oh, but a bit of a mistake there, as he does lose all the bears to this single Imperial Warrior. We'll lose all of those flaks as well. Good pick up for Dimon there. And of course now having this extra one, just deploying it by this refinery just to build some walls and delay things as much as he can. But with these sickles out, he's going to move on forward and look to get some aggression of his own, because of course 4 dojos isn't cheap, and he's only managed to get 1 oil derrick with it, so sickles can actually do a little bit of pressure in the meantime. gets one of them inside the refinery, just doing a little bit of pressure, but just ghosting out the refinery for the time being, holding the fort. But it's keeping up the pressure, of course. Getting the repairs next to this mecha bay means that it's going to be pretty difficult to actually get the damage done that he needs, so he's just essentially hoping that there's a slip up from his opponent there. But Dimon on point, not going to be losing the collective that easily. Another dojo coming on out to try and get this refinery on its order on the right, but not going to be lucky enough this time. The bear probably going to be getting the lucky roll. He's going to be waiting. Does get it, so good trade from him. But nothing in the main base to defend his Tengyus means it's a perfect place to drop. Flak troopers versus Imperial warriors. I know which side of the engagement I'd rather be on. So Flak gets ripped to shreds. Still, both players only on 2 refineries, but the Alderac advantage does go to the Empire. And seeing as the Sickles and all these units that have came out from the Soviets haven't really done very much, definitely got to give the current advantage to the Empire player, as he looks to be going for his third himself. Also, well-placed Tengu in this in the water over here, just essentially saying, you shall not build this refinery yet. But even if you wanted to be honest, probably wouldn't be the best idea, because you can't defend it. You can't build a Tesla because it doesn't have any aircraft. And that was very risky, but managed to do it. Do what you needed to do that. Still no super reactor. Oh god, that's horrible. That's unlucky there. It did actually get inside the bullfrog, but as soon as the Imperial warrior actually swings its sword, no matter where it is, if it's inside the bullfrog or not, it does still get the kill. Similarly to if a unit goes inside the garrison after being swiped, it does still die. Arguably a bug, but doesn't really matter at this stage. Single tsunami tank moves on forward, as he does have this third refinery as well. And he didn't really too much to deal with this. Forces this turret to come on out, which he knows is going to be coming. But doesn't really want to commit to anything yet. Somehow this dojo is still alive, and this allows this extra production to come on out. Still only 2 refineries. Deeply fantasy in a world of hurt. Not really getting anywhere where he wants to in this game. He's just getting further and further behind the longer this game goes on. As his tanks come in to harass his main base, Tengyus as well in the refineries. Refinery, I should say. There's only 2 of them are indeed out. Unless Deep Fantasy can perform a miracle with his units, crushing all the tanks with the MCV, I think this might just be game. And Bullfrogs, known to be very good versus Tsunami tanks, instantly takes some quick damage there. It now finally goes for the crushes, but Tsunami tanks are escaping. And Dimon's already on 4 refineries. He's in great shape to go on from this position. Only 2 collectors, both on red health. This is a dire scenario for the Soviets, and I mean, as soon as he moves on forward and sees what his opponent actually has, I would not be surprised if he just simply quits and forfeits the game. tenacious. Not giving up yet. Does infect one of those tsunami tanks. The turret will go down as well. Good play from Empire this game. Just completely abusing the position that the Soviets was in from the start. So Desolator Airstrike comes out just to take the collector off the land for the time being. But it's only going to simply be a little bit of lost mining time. He's going to put that back on as soon as the goo subsides. And a couple of tanks just waiting around the back for these units to come on out so he can strike. I would not be surprised to simply see 2 more refineries come out from the Empire, because I mean there's no pressure. There's no threat. He can do whatever he wants at this stage. He can go all in and win the game outright. He can just get further and further ahead in the economy. Finally, the Soviets have secured a third. But despite that, he's only on 2 refineries mining. And one of them not even properly fully mining. The second one survives on 1 HP. Tanks and a few extra units coming through the center. We're going to maybe try and break things and just win the game outright, because I mean this army is enough to take on everything that the Soviets has, apart from maybe the MCV for crushing. Tsunami tanks coming once again. Main units come in from the center. Units cannot be at both sides considering what he has. Doesn't really care if he loses these units from the crushers, because I mean, I know this charge will be enough. And I mean, if the MTV dies, that's essentially the game anyway with him. So there it goes. Not really caring about his micro at this stage because he's so far ahead. And DD Fantasy will be defeated. Dimon, 3-1 is now on match point. Hello and welcome to game number 6 Game number 6 of the June 2018 Ladder Wars Finals. On the left of the map, in the yellow trunks, it is the Empire player, it is Dimon. And on the top right, it is the purple Soviets, DD Fantasy. Struggling in this series so far. Down 1-3. Opponent on match points. He's going to have to win every game from here on out to come back into the series. See if he actually has it in him. Of course, this is again his map of choice after having lost that game. 4 dojos coming on out for the Empire, and only a single one for the Soviets, so it's going to have to be a war factory next. Let's see if we can actually make this work, because the previous game didn't quite go his way. Right off the bat, did seem to be struggling. And just straight up try to go for the engine for every single capture right off the bat. Both of the oil derricks, the garage. I mean, already this is looking dire for the Soviets. I mean, sure, he's got an engine in Eurozone, and sure, he's going to fire it up and try and get the capture. He's got 2, in fact. But I mean, already this is not looking overly great for the Soviets. Sickle coming on out, already too late to stop any of the captures from the oil derricks. And again, not fast enough to deal with that engineer at the top. Really, this fast war factory has not achieved its goal. Already again, DD Fantasy in a little bit of trouble. Doesn't want to lose his engineer or this turret either, and he's going to lose both. Just loses the turret, okay. Not the end of the world, but it's still not ideal going to be able to capture one of these Alderics. And the second one. I mean, he's going to have to hope and try and get the garage if he's going to have any hopes in this game. Should be able to capture it, unless the Tengus get out quickly. There is the first one. I think he might just have the cooldown fast enough to kill the engineer. It might be quite close. I think he just about might get it. Just to be safe though, going for the sell-off and does get it, I mean that's just adding insult to injury. DG Fantasy in a world of hurt and the game's literally just started. Things not going his way at all. It's fast War Factory style. I mean, it's okay if you actually manage to achieve your goal with it, but if you don't get any damage done, if you don't manage to secure these locations, then you just put yourself in a really bad position. Tengu's now coming on forward, of course, with the garage. Will be in decent shape, but isn't committing to anything quite yet. Just simply building more and more units and probably going for an expansion. Maybe another dojo to capture the all on the right. I think that's actually what it's going to be. Again, stops the capture, and really with the garage. I mean, you shouldn't even be losing losing Tengus like that. You should really just be keeping every single unit alive. But loses 2 sickles there. Loses 2 Tengus there, which is a bit of a blunder, but I mean, he can deal with that. He can take that at this stage. Because of course, if the Tengus are not being stunned down by a terror drone, there's nothing to stop them from either escaping or lifting out to the skies to then retreat and go back and heal. Tengu coming in once again for some harassment. Sickles out of position. But again, DG Fantasy hoping that he can get something to happen with his engineer, but is not having any luck. And that's just simply going to be it. Things just didn't go so well from this game at all. I mean, that's just been the name of this, the pattern for this series. DG Fantasy getting behind early on and not being able to come back. Dimon taking full advantage of all of his mistakes, capitalizing on everything, and simply going right for the win. Well played to Dimon there. Will go ahead with the first place prize with the 4-1 in the finals. So good play from both sides, but just not DG Fantasy's day, it seems. Well played to Dimon once again. And thank you all for watching. See you guys next time.